Hello everybody, Kelly Acheson coming to you from Menasha, Wisconsin. Today I'm going to have a product spotlight using the Floral Delight suite from the new mini catalog. So this is absolutely beautiful. I'm so thrilled to be sharing this with you. The suite includes the Delightful Wishes bundle, which is a stamp set and a set of dies. Now this stamp set is a photopolymer set. Oh, well, I have them all mounted, so they're not in here. It is a photopolymer stamp set. It has 14 different stamps in it with some greetings. The wishing goes with the smaller sentiments, or you can use the smaller sentiments or the wishing all by themselves. But this is a two-step stamping set, and I'll show you a little bit of some tips and tricks with that too. We've got the Delightful Wishes dies. These are fantastic, and they're also somewhat of a two-step die cutting system. So I'll be sharing a lot of tips with you on this set of dies. Also, there are 19 different dies in the Delightful Wishes die set. Now, also included in this suite are the tiny bee trinkets. Whoops, tiny bee trinkets. Let me see if I can get these open. These little bees are so tiny, just like the name says. And I'll show you some tips on those with how to add them to your cards, 3D projects, home decor, scrapbooking pages. These are going to be great for everything. The thing I really like about them is they're super tiny. They're low profile. They're not going to cause a big deal in your envelopes as far as extra postage goes. I think these are going to work out really, really well. And then we have the Daffodil Delight 1/8 inch satin ribbon. You get 10 yards of this on a roll. And of course it matches the whole suite. So I'm going to bring in the paper. This is the Floral Delight Designer Series paper. And I've been using this on swap cards as we get ready to launch this new catalog. So we have some beautiful, beautiful yellow flowers. There's a little bit of pool party in here. We've got some old olive and also the pecan pie. And this pretty print on the back. We've got this kind of like a linen pattern and more flowers. These are really pretty. I really am impressed with the patterns on the back of the floral layers also. These are gorgeous. These flowers are big enough to be cut out, and you'll see some of that in your mini catalog. These bigger flowers with the very intricate leaves, they are cut out of the designer paper that are on the samples in the mini catalog. And of course, gingham. Gingham is always fun. It's one of my favorite patterns. Here's some more flowers that can be cut out or used for layers. And some more linen type look of pattern on this old olive. And more flowers. Another color that is used in this suite is peach pie. So I do have samples of all of the cardstock that they recommend to be used with this suite. We've got the pecan pie, the old olive, the pool party, the peach pie, daffodil delight, and lemon lolly. These work really well with these papers. Okay, let me bring in the vellum because there's more. This is the Floral and Gingham Vellum. And I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring in some white for the background so you can really see how pretty this is. We've got the pool party gingham. We've got some pool party background with white flowers. And again, this is vellum, so it's see-through. And then, of course, the floral pattern here. You get 2 sheets of each of these for a total of 6 in a pack of the Floral and Gingham Vellum. And then when we come back to the Floral Delight Designer Series paper, this is also 12 by 12, and you get 2 sheets with each pattern. So you get a total of 12 sheets in this pack. I had a little bit of time to play today, and I had so much fun figuring out how to use this suite. Sometimes we need to just sit down and play with things to figure out what's going on. I also referenced my mini catalog a lot to see how things were put together. So always remember that that is a great reference tool also. So first of all, I have the die cut here of the word wishing, and that is going to be this very small, intricate die that will cut out the word wishing. Now, the cool part about this particular set of dies is that you also have a larger die that layers behind the wishing. So I've got a pool party layer here that I added behind or in front of this bigger die. So we've got the very intricate one, which I showed you here first, okay? And then we've got the background that lines up perfectly with that. So this is the bigger one. You layer this one on top of this one and you come up with this. The other thing that's really neat about this is they have included a stamp that says wishing. So what I did here is I die cut the larger die that says wishing, and then I used that stamp, let me grab that quick, in Pool Party ink and stamped it onto the white larger layer. So that's fun also for a lot of different color combinations. We have a branch. Hang on, I've got to get all of these things turned off so they stop beeping on me. There we go. No sound there. My iPad is on. We're going to have to deal with that. Okay, so we've got the wishing here. We can die cut, layer, or we can die cut the bigger one and stamp on that. We've got the branch. Then we've got these leaves. Oh, let me show you this. Here's the branch die. Okay, that's easy, easy peasy. Then I'm going to bring in these others. We've got the two-step die cutting, just like two-step stamping, with two different leaf dies here that layer together. So we've got this one that cuts out the solid, and then we've got this one that cuts out this intricate. These just layer right on top of each other for a really neat 3D type look, which I thought was pretty cool. And we've got the larger leaves here, leaf, I should say leaf. And then we've got a smaller set as well. So here's the smaller set that just layers together. So I thought that was pretty cool. Like that's a lot of different options going on in one set of dies. Not to be outdone by the stamp. So we've got the stamp here in the Wishful Delightful Wishes, and also a die to cut those out. So you can layer these under your flowers. Then we'll get to the flowers. How about the flowers? We have a large die here that I die cut out of Lemon Lolly. And then we've got the two-step die cutting that brings in that extra dimension. So Lemon Lolly, Daffodil Delight, you would just simply glue these together. And then we've got the smaller here. This one looks really goofy, but trust me, it's very pretty. Here is our Lemon Lolly die cut out of this one, and then the intricate one is right here, and that's Daffodil Delight. So you can do lots of different things there. Now to go along with our flowers, of course, we have some center elements. So we have this die that cuts out these little, what look like little paint splotches. Okay, so those are cut out of pecan pie, and those can layer right in the center of your die cut flowers, or we also have stamped flowers. And of course, this would be a smaller one. But that's what those are. I kind of wanted to show you a little bit about how I got a single little flower stamped on there. Well, let me grab a little scrap. I have lots and lots of little scraps. So what I did, this stamp is actually kind of a cute little element that you can stamp in the background of the cards that you're making, which is what I did with it in one area here, and I'll show you that in a second. But to get just one of these little flower centers stamped, all I did was take this, and since it's photopolymer, you can see through that rubber, and I just inked up one of those little elements and stamped that in the middle of these flower centers. Now I also did it over here. I did the same thing, just inked up one of these little flower centers and put it in the middle of this flower. So then that brings me to the other flowers that are in here. We have the two-step stamping. This is the solid image and the detailed image. And what I found as I was playing with this, because my colors are so light using yellow, it was easier for me to stamp the darker intricate stamp in the Daffodil Delight. Then I stamped the solid image in the Lemon Lolly and stamped that Daffodil Delight intricate image second. I usually do the outline first. I usually do this one first and that over top, right? But in order to see better, I did this one first and then stamped the background. And then of course I showed you how to use this little stamp to stamp the center on this one. And these line up very nicely. It was a little tricky to get them to know where to turn them to make them line up nicely. But once you do, you're just kind of looking at the more prominent images or petals in the flower. So we've got this, and it shows right here. This flower petal really sticks out further, and so does that intricate one. So you're going to know that that layers right on top of there perfectly. So that's kind of how I went about it. Also, there is a label in here. This label is really nice because it does fit the longest of the sentiments in here. So we've got the wishing and then you a happy birthday, wishing you all the best, wishing you were here, wishing you wishing lots of love. That doesn't have the you in there, but it certainly goes with it. So when you die cut this, you get this long label. And because these words, these sentiments were smaller, I wanted a smaller label. So what I did here is I die cut my big label. I stamped my words on there. And then wherever my words happen to end, I brought my label and I shortened that up just like this. Shortened it up, taped it with some temporary tape, ran it through my machine to get these smaller labels. So that's another thing you could do with labels. And I really love that option because, you know, instead of just having one label, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, this one's the same size. So 1, 2, 3, 4, lots of different options. I could just do the word love. So very cool little tip with the label die. Now there's another die in here that has just a whole bunch of flowers, this one. And this makes a really neat die cut image. If you had like the front of your card and you had this was a whole big piece, you could put this up here and down here. You could put it underneath some of your die cut flowers. And then you see through to the next layer of cardstock. So I always love these types of images also. Let me see what else I have here for you. Oh, let's not forget this two-step stamping option. And I am going to bring in some, whoops, let me close up my ink pad here. I'm going to bring in some of the elements that I made here. So the neat thing about this is a two-step stamping process, right? And I did the same thing. I didn't do the same thing. I stamped my background image first and then brought with Lemon Lolly and then brought in the Daffodil Delight with the more detailed. So you've got the two-step stamping there. Now, what are you going to do with this image? Because it looks a little strange, right? Well, you're going to grab this die. And this die lines up on here perfectly. Again, secure it in place with a Post-it note or temporary tape. And when you die cut that, you're going to get all these little flowers. And so the neat thing about all these little flowers is you can layer them up on your branch. And if you look in the catalog, you're going to see that that is exactly what Stampin' Up! Did on their samples. So we've got some really fun little elements here, and you can raise those flowers up. They look really cool. So that's what you can do with this one. We also have this little branch that's in segments on here. So I went through and I stamped that in pecan pie. And then there's a stamp in here that's leaves, which looks really strange. Let me find that one. This is the stamp with the leaves. And again, I referenced the pictures of the cards made in the catalog to figure out how to use this. And the two little tiny leaves go at the top of the branch, and that fits right in here. So I next stamped those with Old Olive. And then I came in with the solid images of the flowers, and this little flower right here, just like it's shown on here, is the top, and I stamped that, and it leaves breaks in here for those branches that you can see in between. So isn't that fun? And then, wait, there's more. So we've got that and that. Then we have this one, and then you come in with that detailed stamp, and you stamp right over top your solid image of flowers with the Daffodil Delight. So Lemon Lolly, Daffodil Delight. And then this little flower center stamp I used in Pool Party, and just stamped some little elements around the background. So I thought that was fun. Okay, and I already showed you this one. I also wanted to show you a fun little tip that I learned from one of my team members, Sarah Simon. She's a guest stamper in our catalog launch. This is that wishing. And I kind of wanted to share with you, you can use the adhesive sheets and put a piece of adhesive sheet on the back of your cardstock before you die cut, and then die cut this. I didn't do that. What I did to get mine, oops, hang on here. This is very intricate. What I did to get mine glued on to my larger white piece is I used my liquid glue and a sponge dauber. And so what I like to do is I like to take my liquid glue and just put a little bit on my silicone craft mat, and then I've got a sponge dauber. So I will take this and turn it over, and now you have to be very gentle with this, and my sponge dauber is sticky because I've used it for glue before. When you get done, if you wash these out, then they're not sticky like this, but I tend to be a little lazy about that. But what I'm doing here is I'm spreading out my glue so that I don't have big globs on here. And then I touch on the bigger points. I don't cover this entire thing. Notice I've got the H, the end of the G here. I just touch on some of the end pieces. You don't need this whole entire thing completely glued down 100%. It's not going to go anyplace. And then you want to come in here and you want to put your very intricate little letters into place. See how this is kind of stretched out here? You're going to push it into place so that it goes exactly where it needs to go. And of course, I didn't use a lot of glue, so you have to, move along. Don't let your glue dry before you've put everything where it needs to go. And that's how I put that onto my larger base. And then here's what I learned from Sarah Simon is the wishing die. There is an eye. There's a dot for the eye that's in this die, but of course it's really hard to be able to get that out. She used the adhesive sheets and then used her take your pick tool to pick the backing off of those eyes and stick them onto her word. I didn't use adhesive sheets. So what I decided I was going to try, and I don't know if this is going to work or not, but we're going to give it a whirl, is that I am going to add I'm taking my take your pick tool and I'm going to add some glue right there. You can see where it's raised, where that little dot should go. I'm going to put a little bit of glue on my eye. I'm going to wipe that off. And then I'm going to bring my die in here and line it back up and poke that out with my pokey tool onto that eye. And let's see how I did. This one's a little low. I can just move it up while that glue hasn't dried yet, but look at that. Sarah, that was absolute genius. So thank you for sharing that tip. I love it. And that's how I got the wishing and the dots on the eyes in there. Oh, I have one more thing. Dimensionals. Almost forgot this. So with the tiny bee trinkets, these are not adhesive, right? They don't have any adhesive on them, but here's what I like to do with them. I like to take my take your pick tool, and mini glue dots are a little too big for this. You could roll them up, but your bee is going to stick up in the air because the mini glue dot is just a tad bit too big. So what I like to do, and I've shown this before, is to take my liquid glue and just make some very small little dots on the backing paper that's left behind from your dimensionals. Now, you have to do this ahead of time so it dries. And what I've created, I did some ahead of time. I've created mini glue dots that are now dry. So I'm going to use my take your pick tool to pick up one of these tiny bee trinkets, and I'm going to push it into that little glue dot, and that is going to stick it right on to my card, scrapbook page, home decor, whatever the case may be. So when you have tiny embellishments like this that glue dots are too big for, you can see the glue dots here. They're just much bigger than one of our tiny little bees. Look at how much bigger that is. Make your own little tiny glue dots, and you'll be able to use those to secure these tiny little things in place. Okay, now I think that is all the tips that I had. I'm sure there's more tips and tricks and ideas using this beautiful suite of products, but I think that the paper is going to be really, really fun to create with because yellow is just so happy, and of course flowers are always happy too. I see making get well cards, I see making birthday cards, all occasion cards, even sympathy cards. It's a very soothing pattern, and I think that this suite of products is going to be really fantastic for all of those things. And I can't wait to be able to play with this some more. I have just a few cards to share with you. You know, December is big swapping month for Stampin' Up! Demonstrators, so I received these in a swap. And this uses, let me grab my sheet back here. This uses this pretty paper in the background and one of our new sentiment sets, and then a little strip of that linen Floral Delight paper on the inside. What a quick and easy card, very pretty. Here's another one that uses that little branch that I demonstrated for you. It's got a tiny little piece of the old olive linen pattern paper there, and then the same designer paper on the front here. And they cut out the little love and use the stamps on the inside. And here is the last one that I have to share with you. They used the Daffodil Delight in the background and put a white intricate word on the front here. This is our Spotlight on Nature dies, and again the very pretty 1/8 inch Daffodil Delight ribbon, and they use those little elements in the back on their floral. And some sequins. Let's see if I can get this open. Aren't these pretty? I just think they're pretty, they're bright, they're reminding me of spring, even though it's only January. But yeah, I'm going to have a lot of fun with this suite. Thanks for joining me for this product spotlight. I hope I've given you some inspiration here. And I think when you can see the products, it gives you a little better idea of the kinds of things that you can do with it. And I know it always gets my head spinning with ideas. I almost have to write them down before I forget them. Thanks so much for joining me for this video today. If you don't have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I would love to earn your business. Please feel free to pop me an email. I'd be happy to share the new catalogs with you. And make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. You're going to find a button right down here. Click on that. You don't want to miss anything I have coming out. Have a great day. Bye-bye.